Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Canopy build from Wish. If you haven't seen the first episode, go back and watch that, because this one kicks off right where the other one finished. So enjoy, or don't, it's up to you. Alright, so I made two mistakes. They're all fixed now, but I don't have any footage of it, just because I wanted to hurry up and get it done. I didn't want to just muck around and waste time filming. One of the mistakes was this corner was actually warped up, so it wasn't sitting flat. My second mistake was actually on this bottom frame. It wasn't actually square, which is like a grade 1 mistake. I did actually have it pretty square, but I think when I tacked it, I must have bumped it or done something and moved it out of square. Because yeah, it was pretty good. So because of both of those mistakes, this corner was actually lifted up off the mount, and these two edge bits were not lining up with the tub at all. What I did to fix it was I cut each bottom corner off this bit, and I ended up chocking these up and then jumped on this side to bring it down. And to fix how square everything was, I actually cut all the supports out and I dropped the corner that was the longest on the ground, and that just put it back into square. When I put everything back together, I actually had to weld a bit of a gap up on each thing I welded, because when the cutting disc went through, I had to make multiple cuts just to get right around it, which means, I don't know, I didn't get the cuts exactly square, so there's a lot of filling in with the welding pretty much. So because I had to cut and re-weld everything, I don't think it's as pretty as it originally was. While I was at it, I welded the legs up and yeah, got the angle iron bits on, and yeah, they're all ready. Also, I put gussets on each leg. Don't know how badly I actually need them, but yeah, that's just going to stop any backwards and forwards movement while it's on the tub. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some plate to this join on all four legs, and that's just going to stop the sideways movement once it's on the tub. So what I'm going to do now is, this is just some 50x5 flat bar. I'm just going to cut 30mm strips out of these, so 4 of them, and they're going to go on each leg. So I've got 4 of these made up. I'm just going to try hammer a bend into them. Don't know how I'll go, but see what happens. So all I did here was I hit one until it was the right angle, and then with the rest of them I just lined them up with the first one I made and hit them until they were the same as that. So these turned out alright. Now I can go ahead and weld them on. Alright, we have those 4 little plates welded on, so hopefully that gives it a bit more strength. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some vertical braces in, and then I'm going to weld some flat bar along the inner edge, but I'm going to recess it in 3mm because that's what that aluminium plate is. So then that brings that aluminium plate flush with this. I've already marked out where the 2 vertical bits are going to go, so I'll cut them out and then we can weld them in. So right now I'm just using my wooden hammer to tap the brace into place. And then right now you can't really see it, but I do have little 3mm plates stuck to the magnets, and that'll space out where the braces are going so they're not flush. Now that I've got the second support in place, now I'm just going along with the ruler and measuring all the gaps and making sure they're the same. Now I'm just going to make a list of what flat bar sizes I need, and then we can cut them. Now that all these bits of flat bar have been cut out, now it's time to weld them all on. I just had a bit of 3mm flat bar, which is the same thickness as the aluminium. I put them on the, I put the magnets on the side of the RHS, and with that 3mm, that's spaced this flat bar out 3mm. So when I put the aluminium on that back sheet, that should make the aluminium flush with all the RHS. Not sure if any of that was actually English, but yeah. Hopefully you'll work it out. Alright, so when I put this on, I'm hoping it's going to be flush all the way around. Yeah, I think it works. I won't do this step till last, but when I do want to put the aluminium on, I'm only going to be gluing it on. I'm not going to put rivets or bolts or screws or anything. Had some porosity and some spatter issues, and I burnt a few holes, had it a bit too hot, but it's all welded up. Yeah, on to the next step, whatever that is. Might add that once this is all enclosed and everything, I'll probably have some plyboard in those three sections with marine carpet, so you won't actually be able to see any of that. Next thing I'm going to do is cut and weld some flat bar onto these angle bits, so on the roof and on the floor of the canopy. The flat bar I'm actually going to weld flush with the roof. Because this is on an angle, when I put the roof and the floor in, it's gonna drop down. So with bits of flat bar here, it's gonna have something to sit onto. So I'll chop some 25x3 flat bar and then we'll glue them on. Now that these are cut out, I'm just going to have to notch the corners out of them. As you can see, they sort of hit the weld before they go flush. So I'll notch all the corners out and then weld them on. So now that I've notched out both corners, it sort of sits flush. Just got two magnets on either side. Yeah, it's not exactly where I want it, but it's pretty close. Now I'll just notch out the next three and should be able to weld them on. With welding these on, I don't think I want to put any weld on the top, and same as the roof. I'll probably try to go from underneath, so it'll be underneath there where I'll weld them, and I'll just put silicone right across the seam here. Don't know how good of a weld I'm going to get in there, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
This edge here? Yeah.
Now that I've welded the flat bar on, that should give the roof and the floor something to stick to. Alright, this is some 40x8 flat bar. This is what I'm going to use to mount the rooftop tent onto the top of this. What I plan on doing is having this flat bar sort of the same angle as this, come across, and same angle down the other side as well. What my plan is cut 25mm strips out of these, and then they're going to stand up, I don't know, 25mm out from the edge. The reason I'm not doing 40mm wide bits of flat bar to weld onto here is because I still need to have room for the roof to glue on. So if I go 25mm, that leaves a gap for the roof to glue onto. So I'll have 2 diagonal bits coming up either side, and then I'll probably just have 2 uprights just supporting the middle of it. So I'll start measuring everything up and hopefully weld it on. I've got both bits of flat bar cut out now. These blocks here, they're just for to space it up to the right height. And now I can go ahead and measure these distances, and then I can weld them on. So I've cut the height out of the flat bar. I just need to cut the width out, which is the 25mm. Because it's only a small cut, I'm only going to use a 5-inch grinder. So now that the rooftop rails are tacked up into shape, I'm actually going to rip them off so I can fully weld them off the canopy. Now that I've fully welded the rooftop rails, I now have to go back and grind down the tacks that I ripped apart so it's back to a smooth surface. Earlier I mentioned that I was having porosity and spatter issues. Ever since then I was playing with the settings trying to get it right, and just before recording this clip I decided to change the contact tip on the end of the gun, and turns out that's the only thing that was wrong the whole time. So I got pranked by the contact tip. That's what it looks like when it's done. As you can see, I've left the 15mm gap so it gives the roof something to glue on in there. Also, depending on what I decide to do, the rails will sit on here from the rooftop tent, and they either come with a bit of flat bar that slides underneath with 2 holes in them and that clamps to this, or I can either drill holes into this and then just bolt it straight up. Alright, both of these are welded up, so on to the next step. Now it's time to mount the hinges to the doors. So I'm going to pop rivet these on, but I'm only going to put like 3 rivets on at the moment, because I'm going to have to take them off so I can paint the doors and do whatever. So when I actually put them on, I'll put more rivets on them, and I'll actually put a bead of silicone on just to weatherproof it. First step to do is cut the hinge to suit the length of the door. With the hinge cut to length, we can now start drilling some holes. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to mark and drill the holes on the hinge itself first, and then once I've done that I can put it up where it needs to go, and then I'll know exactly where I need to drill on the actual door. So now that I've drilled the holes in the hinge, I've gone ahead and clamped it to the actual door, and with the drill I'm not actually going straight through now, I'm only marking out where the holes need to go. And the reason for that is if I'm not holding the drill super square, the drill bit can actually wear away the plastic hinge. So now that I've taken away the hinge, I can now drill straight through. Now that I've drilled the holes, I've changed to a bigger drill bit and just lightly running them over the holes and getting rid of the burrs. Alright, so the hinge is on now. Like I said, I'm only going to put a few rivets in just for now. So I'm going to have to pre-drill the holes into the hinge and then somehow over here hang it up and then somehow drill the holes up into that top frame. As you could probably see, the bottom of the door actually hit the bottom of the frame. Might have to get some doors remade or something. But I'm hoping, because the two ends weren't riveted on, they weren't fully closed. So I'm hoping once that gap closes, it gives this corner a bit more clearance and it actually clears. But we'll have to figure that out. Alright, so I'm having a problem, which is the rivets that I have, which are just random ones that I just have laying around, they're actually too short. So this thing snaps off before it gets to its, I don't know, fattest, I guess. Which means these aren't hanging on by much. Yeah, so I'm going to have to get a bit longer ones and start again, I think.
Tomorrow.
We now have longer rivets, so I'm hoping that actually fixes the problem. Oh, my brain decided to not exist when I ordered these doors up because I didn't leave enough gap for the bottom. I left enough gap for the hinge, but yeah, it's very tight. So that really wants like a 5 or 10 mil gap. Well, I only have two options, I think. Either cut 10 mil off this bit and re-weld it on, or get new doors made up, which I don't really want to do. Alright, so I've got the door off. I'll decide what I'm going to do about it tomorrow. But yeah, now I'm going to go inside and have a fat snooze and think about my behaviour. Alright, I'm going to end the second episode there. Once again, I've ended it on another low. Hopefully next episode it'll start actually looking like a canopy. If for some reason you're still watching, let me know in the comments how terrible the videos are. I want to try and improve them as much as I can. So any feedback would be good. In my head, I'm making them way too long and want to try shorten them down. So yeah, that's one thing I want to look into doing in the future episodes. Alright, that's enough. Bear.